Hello, in this video, we're going to be talking about the biosafety levels. So biosafety levels are a way for us to kind of categorize and describe microbes based on how much risk it is to work with these microbes in the lab. So hypothetically speaking, if you were working with a microbe in a lab, it's going to have a certain biosafety level, which describes how risky it is. And biosafety level 1 is going to be our least amount of risk. And then as we move up in the scale, biosafety level 4 is going to be the most risk. By the way, these guidelines are set by the CDC, again, for individuals who are working in a microbiology lab and you are working with these microbes. If you are working with something that is, for example, biosafety level 4, you're going to be, wearing more PPE and, being more cautious when you are working with these microbes. So let's start with biosafety level 1. Biosafety level 1 is our least risk. These are microbes that generally don't cause disease in your healthy individuals. So they're going to be, just fine to work with just a regular Bunsen burner, gloves, and a lab coat. So just the, normal amount of precautions. And so this is going to be things like our lab versions of E. coli and other lab strains that have basically been modified so they can't cause any disease. Now, when we move up to biosafety level 2, these are going to be moderate risk microbes. These are going to be the ones that can cause disease if you were exposed to it. And yeah, you're just going to have to be much more cautious. But of course, these diseases are typically going to be curable. So if you do get exposed and you do get sick, there are antibiotics or antimicrobials that you can take to prevent yourself from being more sick. And then as we move up to biosafety level 3 and 4, we are increasing our risk. So biosafety level 3, for example, are going to be some of your more exotic microbes like tuberculosis, where the disease could potentially be lethal. Typically, these microbes are going to transmit through the respiratory system, and so they spread relatively easily. They're airborne, so if you cough or if you are working with this microbe in the laboratory and you create an aerosol of that microbe, it's easier for you to kind of, breathe it in. And so these microbes, we have to take extra precaution when we're working with them. And then finally, biosafety level 4, there are not really that many labs here just around the world really that work with biosafety level 4, and that's because they are the most dangerous, the most exotic. And usually, if you are exposed to a microbe that is biosafety level 4, not only is it most likely going to be fatal, but there is typically no cure, no vaccine, no antibiotic that we can give to, to save you, basically. And so there's really only a few biosafety level 4 labs because, again, it is extremely risky to work with these microbes. And the amount of precaution that they take is, to the extreme. So those are the biosafety levels. If you are working in, a university level microbiology lab for a class, you're most likely going to be working with biosafety level 1 and maybe biosafety level 2, but your instructor would most likely give you extra precaution or tell you to use extra precaution if you're working with those microbes. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.